Alright, so beginnings. The beginnings of GI custom knives.
It actually started via YouTube. I was recovering from my third back surgery, which was a spinal fusion. And I was sitting there watching YouTube on the computer, and I saw guys how to make a custom knife. That's cool. I like knives. So I watched it, and the guy took and made a knife out of a bastard file, old Nicholson bastard file. And I'm thinking, I can do that. So I watched the video, and I'm like, pulled up another video. Just watching all these videos, just soaking up his stuff like a sponge. Yeah. So I hobbled my way down to my little workshop I had, and found some old files. Had an old gas grill that was broke down, gutted it, turned it into a forge. Went and bought me some matchlight charcoal, and softened the steel up, and started grinding it on a bench grinder, and making bevels with other bastard files, and I had some old oak laying there, some red oak. I think it was from molding or something, and slapped it on there. I'm like, hey, I've got a knife. Heat treated it. I think at the time I started a fire the first time I heat treated.
And this was less than 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's right about this time of the year that I made the first knife.
Okay, so we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary.
Right. I posted my first YouTube video on November the 14th, 2011. And it was a knife I made for my dad. And I think it was like my second or third. It was my third knife that I made. Was my first YouTube video. But
that was didn't Roman Legionnaire? Didn't he get that knife?
No. Roman Legionnaire wound up getting the 10th knife I made.
Okay. Because that's when I started. I picked up on you.
I don't remember the number of all the first knives I made, but there are certain ones. Like he was the first, I think, YouTuber that bought a knife from me.
So in the beginning, YouTube was like a huge.
Yeah,
huge
YouTube
help.
was huge. It was a huge place to get information, to talk to people, ask questions. It was a good source of information, a good source of reaching out to people.
Yeah.
And I finished that first knife. It was funny. I took it to church with me, and we're showing it off, and people's like, "Oh man, that's really cool." You made a knife. I thought you kind of like took a butter knife and wrapped the handle with duct tape or something, which would have not been past my hillbilly ingenuity.
But it would have been like exceptional.
Right.
Your attention to detail is maddening.
Yeah, I'm a bit OCD.
Yeah, but that's why that's why your work is the way it is, man. It's just
I tend to obsess over little details.
Yeah.
Especially coming to the end of a project, I really obsess.
George will throw a knife across the shop if he doesn't like it.
It does go into the graveyard bucket. If it makes it that far. So I started getting on the internet and trying to find places to get steel. And I bought some 1095, because that's besides files, that's one of the better steels for new knife makers to start out with. It's easy to work, it's easy to heat treat, gets real hard, keeps a good edge. And there's still a lot of blacksmiths and stuff that use a lot of 1095 for its properties. But I made it closely resembled a buck 119,
Yeah.
I hadn't really got to the point of designing yet. Most of all my cues were still coming from knives that I had, blade shapes that I was familiar with. And I've carried a buck 119 for years. And made it for him, used the same red oak for handles, and sold it to him, and he was really happy with it. And people's like, "Oh, you make and sell knives?"
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I do. And that was a real unsure point in my life right there, because I wasn't physically fit to do a job.
Yeah.
I could only stand for so long. I could only sit for so long. So, you know, this knife making thing, I could go down there and work on it. And then if I needed to come in and lay down, I could come in and lay down. So, you know, it really fit my life. It was one of those divine appointments, I guess you could say. And, you know, people started liking my work. You know, there was a lot of learning in the first, I would say, 3 to 6 months. And, you know, because it was early then that I had some people really take a look at what I was doing and give me some hard critiques.
Right.
And,
again, the YouTube community helped out a lot with that.
right.
Kylie.
You know, Kylie Harris.
Yeah.
He really...
Kylie.
He really jump-started me towards the performance and high-function end of knives. Because he bought one of my early knives. And I think it was the first knife I ever tried convexing. And my whole ideology of what convexing was really skewed. But, you know, he bought the knife. It was a beautiful knife. Had curly maple handles, brass bolster. You know, very beautiful knife. And he made the comment to me in Kylie fashion. He said, it can be the prettiest thing in the world, but if it don't cut, it's not a knife. It's a knife-shaped object.
All right, so you've been into it about 6 months or so at this point, right?
Yep.
And around that, when did you decide? All right, I'm gonna do this? Because I know once you decided, it was fairly quick. Like you got into it.
It was probably around the time that Roman Legionnaire bought that first knife. You know,
he's a huge supporter.
He is a huge supporter. Eugene is a huge supporter of new knife makers, especially on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you know, at that time, I was charging like $10 an hour, but it was taking me like 15 to 20 hours to make a knife.
Well, it took me like 3 months to make my first knife.
You know, I had jigs set up and files set up where, you know, I could gauge my angle by, you know, the big jig that I made with files, and I would file on a knife for 3 or 4 days before the heat treat with Nicholson files. And you know, I had a 1x30, you know, little belt sander.
Yeah.
But that thing chattered so much it made your knives look like the, you know, craters of Mars. And so I put that somewhere else. You know, I just wasn't comfortable with it. But it was about that time, and you know, I sold the knife for, I don't even remember, but I'm like, you know what? I like this. I enjoy this. It really fits with my life, you know, with my abilities and my disabilities.
Yeah.
And a big part of the determining factor was my wife. I told her what I was thinking, and she said, you know what, I think God's blessed you. I think He's opened a door for you. And she said, and I'll support you in every way I can. And that was the big deciding point. I said, okay, I'm going to make a go of this.
When I got wind of you, when I heard about your knives, well, it was kind of through Tim and the Sugar Creek Forge build along, which was huge. That inspired a lot of people to go out and make knives.
Which I did. I actually wasn't a part of the build along.
No, but I found out about Roman through that, and then I started watching his videos, and I saw one of your videos because he'd shown your knife, and I was like, man, that dude, because you were sitting on your porch, front porch, you had a pair of overalls on, cars were driving by, and I was like, if this guy isn't from the South, I'll eat my shoes. Like, and I had no idea that you lived that close to me until we started to sort of interact and correspond and stuff like that. And that was all through YouTube too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. There's been a lot of good relationships made through YouTube.
Yeah. I would
a lot of
agree with
friendships.
that. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of friendships.
And I can't believe how many people, I guess we're just simpatico, like a lot of people's channels that I really like are actually from North Carolina. And they're not all channels, but I mean a lot. Some of my favorites are, you know, they're like at the most 2 hours away from me.
Brothers Keeper.
Yeah. Ed from the Budget Armory.
Budget Armory.
OTG.
Gary Mandevan.
Yep. Gary.
OTG. Yeah.
So that's a good crew. You?
Yeah. Well, you know, and this is not any kind of geographic pride, but you know, we've got a different way about us. You know, a down to earth kind of everybody's your friend. You know, not knowing a stranger. You know, you go to the store to get a loaf of bread and you're gone for 2 hours because you found somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That you've never met before. So, but yeah, there is. There's definitely a difference about us folk around here.
Not that we're better.
No, not better at all. Just
not
different.
That we're better. Yeah, we just, you know, that's how we roll. So then you started like giving your knives names, and you actually started like product line. Yeah. Okay, take 2. All right, take 3. Oh, I'm gonna do another one.